I'm Azam Ahmed with DealBook. I'm here speaking with Graham Boley of the New York Times about Nasdaq's withdrawal from its bid for the New York Stock Exchange Euronext. So Graham, what do you think this means?
It raises all sorts of questions about what Nasdaq does next. It seemed to be reacted to the New York Stock Exchange move with Deutsche Börse and came forth with its own idea of the link up with ICE. Now that doesn't seem possible. It's going to face this really tricky strategic question. Does it do something domestically? Or does it look overseas and try for some other sort of global play?
What are the domestic plays that it could make?
The logic that it used in its bid was that it was going to take New York Stock Exchange, combine it with its own domestic stock business, and create this sort of great pool of US liquidity of share trading. It could still do that. It could look at two other stock exchanges, young stock exchanges that have risen up in the last few years, BATS and Direct Edge. BATS in Kansas, Direct Edge in New Jersey. These are young, fast-growing exchanges that have actually stolen a lot of business from New York and Nasdaq over the last few years. It could perhaps look to them in some sort of tie-up, perhaps a merger. The question is, though, will it run into the same problems, the same antitrust problems that its former proposal ran into?
One of the issues with that, some of the analysts have already started saying that it wasn't so much the trading issue, but rather the listing that had posed a potential problem with the Department of Justice. In which case, acquiring BATS or Direct Edge wouldn't be as much of a antitrust concern.
Because they don't have listings, right? BATS wants to, but doesn't yet. BATS, which is going to go public soon, maybe its own first listing. But yeah, they don't have listings, so this may be the answer. We don't know.
Does the domestic strategy make sense, or does it make sense in a globalized world to have more of a global footprint as an exchange?
I think the great kind of thought that came out of the previous rival merger bids from New York and Nasdaq and ICE and Deutsche Börse, there were these two great ways of looking at the world. Nasdaq wanted to focus on the US and one product mainly, which was US stocks, and it thought that by being a sort of great pool in the US, it could attract business globally. Companies would come and list here, but it was this focused US strategy, whereas the New York Stock Exchange and Deutsche Börse wanted to go for this global approach. They said if it's going to be a global world, you had to be present globally in other countries. Although now Nasdaq might, if you can't do stuff domestically, it might look to do tie-ups globally, and there are a number of options, right?
Such as like TMX, the London Stock Exchange, potentially. Although they've made runs at the London Stock Exchange before that haven't materialized in a merger.
This whole industry is up for grabs and changing and consolidating, and countries and lawmakers are really worried about loss of jobs, loss of prestige. And in terms of sort of antitrust concerns, we don't know yet what the European regulators are going to say about Deutsche Börse and New York Stock Exchange and their link up in Europe, because in terms of derivatives, there's going to be some sort of heavy market concentration there. So we don't know yet. The Deutsche Börse New York deal isn't through the woods yet.
Yeah. Graham, thank you very much for your insight and commentary. This is Azam Ahmed with DealBook.